Hello and welcome back to the channel. This video is an exciting look at wargaming with galleys in the Hellenistic era. The game is set in the period of Thermopylae and Salamis around 480 BC along the labyrinthine coast of southern Greece. The ship types range from small, nimble 30-oared triaconters to larger 50-oared pentaconters and on to even larger triremes, the main warship of the age. Big ships such as octeres and decares were beginning to appear. In this battle, the Persian flagship is an octeres. These light, shallow draft ships were often pulled ashore at night and refloated the next day. Design innovation was leading to the addition of protected walkways above the rowers and protective bulwarks to shield the hoplites and marines during missile exchanges. In the game, a powerful Persian fleet commanded by Admiral Shapur attempts to force the narrows and rout the lighter Greek ships under Admiral Platon. The game is played on a 5x4 table and the models are 1/1200 scale made by Warfare Miniatures. I have a yet unpublished set of ancient galley warfare rules completed. These follow the core principles of Mad for War and most other War Twister publishing rule systems. The key is the use of different die types to mirror the quality of the troops and ships. D6 for raw crews, D8 for drilled crews, and D10s for veteran crews. The sailing and rowing rules are very similar to Mad for War. Additional rules for ramming, raking, missile fire and heroes provide a distinctly ancient feel with lots of opportunity to use the tactics of the period. Shapur's Persian fleet has 16 ships with 4 small triaconters, 4 larger pentaconters, 7 trireme galleys and a monster polyreme flagship. The larger Persian ships are generally better protected than those of the Greeks, although they have less veteran crews and fewer heroes. The Greek fleet has 17 ships with 4 small triaconters, 7 pentaconters and 6 triremes. All but 3 of the Greek vessels are affract, which means they are unprotected by bulwarks. This leaves their rowers and soldiers exposed to missile fire. Characters such as carpenters, soothsayers, helmsmen and admirals contribute to the capabilities of individual ships and have been sprinkled over each fleet. The Persian objective is to reach the roads in which Admiral Platon holds his reserve of 5 triremes and take possession of this anchorage. The Greeks must hold the channels and stop the enemy from encircling the soon-to-be besieged city. The wind is blowing southwesterly, straight into the face of the oncoming Persians. They also have the problem of negotiating 2 particularly narrow channels in which their heaviest ships might find themselves grounding. They will rely on oar power to get into action. No time limit has been set for this game. It lasted 13 turns and it took about 3 hours to play. The result was decisive. The Greek Admiral Platon gained a permanent +1 for initiative in the pre-game roll-off, and this provided a useful tactical advantage. A large part of the Greek fleet was positioned behind a headland to the northwest and would take time to get into action because of the distance it must travel. This meant the Greeks would be potentially outnumbered and under pressure from an early and aggressive Persian attack. Each side has 4 groups of ships, and to keep the game moving at pace, alternate activation is by group. This means each side will activate 4 ships at a time. This is a period of close combat, ramming, oar smashing, fire ships and general mayhem. The battles rarely take place on the open sea and normally occurred near the shore, making for very pretty gaming tables like this one. Are you ready? Okay, ramming speed. The Greeks gained the initiative on turn 1 and rushed their fast triaconters into the southernmost channel to block the movement of the Persian flagship squadron. By turn 2, the Persians had manoeuvred their own triaconters to interdict this advance. The Persians used the dash move, simulating crews rowing at an accelerated rate. This gives variable extra movement, but risks fatiguing the rowers, causing reduced performance. Veteran crews can potentially sustain more bounds at dash speed than raw crews. The Persian Ser moved fast and was able to grapple the nearest Corinthian ship, but another became fatigued and failed to reach its target. This gave the Greeks the opportunity to mob Ser, and she was overcome and captured by the Melissa and Sifka. The skill check concept from Mad for War is used for various activities such as dash speed, ramming, boarding, refloating and repairs. It was obvious that the narrow neck of this channel and its hazardous shallows would be the focus of the early action. Numerous ships from both sides grounded and were damaged. The white beads you can see mark the narrows through which passing ships took grounding checks and in many cases failed. A third Corinthian ship, the Peto, sped up the channel and attacked the much larger trireme Vayu by boarding her. It took the Persian galley some time to overcome her opponent, whose captain was the hero Alexandros. A hero adds D3 points in combat, giving any vessel lucky enough to have one considerable edge in a boarding action. Two ships ran aground during this early clash, the small Corinthian Merminki and the Persian trireme Mithra. It was clear that the combined weight of numbers and size would force the Corinthians back or wipe them out. A decision was made to withdraw back down the channel, which would eventually slow the Persian attack to a crawl. After the capture of Peto, the grounded Merminki was taken and Sifka was rammed. Despite this, and the overwhelming odds, the nimble Greek vessels were able to save their prize and extract two damaged triaconters. In the southern channel, Admiral Bardia led his 4 sturdy galleys against Platon's 5 lighter Athenian triremes. The Greeks had formed a line blocking the roads, and the Persians accelerated to ramming speed in an attempt to burst through. Scylla and Olympus were badly damaged when their opposite numbers rammed them bow on. After several failed attempts by both sides, a general boarding melee began, with the Athenians having a one-ship advantage which they were unable to leverage until the fighting was already intense. This area of the battle was to prove the bloodiest, with protracted hand-to-hand fighting lasting for almost 2 hours as ships grappled and boarded one another. The advantage swung to and fro. Heroes fell, lines were cut, prizes were taken and hauled out of the carnage. One by one, the Persian galleys were overcome, although the Greeks lost the Delphini. She was cut loose by the Persians and crashed into the adjacent Hoplon, badly damaging her. Admiral Bardia's flagship, Ahriman, was grappled by Platon's Carharius and the Scylla. She fought gallantly but was overwhelmed. Last to fall was the gallant Zorvan, which had initiated the whole action and possessed the least experienced crew. She hung on till the last until taken by Carharius and Scylla. After this furious combat, Admiral Platon still had 4 operational ships, although 2 were badly damaged and almost immobile. On the northern flank, the Greeks had lost 1 pentaconter, but the arrival of their strong reinforcement turned the tide. Several ramming and boarding exchanges resulted in the Persians losing 2 ships and making no further headway. Platon's victory was unknown to Admiral Shapur, who continued southwest, oblivious to his peril, only to find his 4 galleys hemmed in within the channel with little chance of turning round. By the end of turn 13, it was clear the Greeks had won a resounding victory and had the opportunity to capture all of the larger Persian vessels. An interesting feature of this battle was the Greek preference for capturing ships and installing prize crews to sail them out. This contrasted sharply with the Persian preference for cutting captured ships adrift and letting them founder or become navigation hazards. This was purely a consequence of the need for speed and maintaining momentum towards the objective. The Greeks lost 2 triaconters, 1 pentaconter and 1 galley. The Persians lost 1 triaconter, 2 pentaconters and 4 galleys. The roads were held by Admiral Platon and Admiral Bardia was captured. The main features of the game are manoeuvring to gain a ramming advantage, particularly against the weak sides of enemy vessels. Getting up to ramming speed requires at least 2 inches of clear water before impact. You need to make good decisions on when to dash. Boarding and fighting melee combat are really important. The use of characters to improve navigating, boarding, combat and repair provide real flavour for the period. Attempting to disable enemy ships through raking their oars is fun and dangerous. If you've enjoyed this dip in the blue waters of the Aegean Sea, please give the video a like and a comment. Subscribe to the channel and see you next time.